Good evening, and welcome to Spirit Radio with your host, Willy Hassell. Ghosts, spirits, hauntings. This is the show where we take you on a journey. A journey into the unknown, where the paranormal becomes the normal. A journey to a world cloaked in darkness, where reality becomes a thin line. So sit back, relax, and join us as we venture into the shadows, the darkness, the unknown, and back. And good evening once again, and welcome to Spirit Radio, the paranormal experience. Ghosts, spirits, UFOs, Bigfoot, nothing is off limits. This is the show where the paranormal becomes the normal. I am your host, Willy Hassell, the gatekeeper to the dark side, your guide to the realm of the unknown, the unseen, the unthinkable. And as always, joining me here in the studio is my co-host, and I think she's laughing at me, the lovely, the mystical, the mysterious, Lynne Nickerson. Good evening, Lynne.
Good evening, Willie. How are you doing? You're staying dry.
No, as a matter of fact, I'm not. I got wet coming in here.
It's a very soggy night.
It is a very soggy night.
When's summer coming?
I believe the Weather Center just told us a couple minutes ago.
21st of June, I think.
June 21st,
Yeah,
okay.
we've got a long way. It's 160 days.
Okay, well, I think I'm just going to go home and sit and wait. Stay inside.
No, you stay right where you are.
Yeah. Okay, at least for the next hour anyways.
Anyway.
Yeah, all right.
So what have we got lined up for tonight, Willie?
Well, we have a great night tonight. We have an excellent guest coming on.
Mm-hmm.
And tonight's guest is New Jersey-based psychic Jane Doherty. Jane is one of the nation's leading authorities on psychic experiences. For more than 20 years, she has acted as a communication bridge between the living and the departed, and has helped tens of thousands of people understand their past and future. Author, psychic, and ghost investigator, Jane is living proof that paranormal abilities can be acquired. And with her first book, Awakening the Mystic Gift, the surprising truth about what it means to be psychic, she wants to teach that message to the world. And we should have Jane on the line right now. Good evening, Jane.
Hi there.
How are you tonight?
Very good. Soggy, too.
You're soggy, too, down there?
Yeah, it sure is.
Oh, that's too bad.
Well, welcome to the show, Jane. We're glad to have you on.
Yeah, it's great to have you here, and I don't think it's too late to say Happy New Year.
And same to you.
Oh, thank you. So, do you want to talk about being a psychic and a medium and a ghost investigator and all kinds of neat stuff?
Okay.
Okay.
Jane, I was really impressed with your website and everything that you've done. I didn't realize you had done such a variety of things.
Yes.
You've got to tell us.
Been in the field a long time.
Yeah. You can start wherever you'd like to, but we've got to also touch on your dead tenants and the movie part that you played, as well as your missing persons investigations and solving any murders. Did you solve murders as well?
The what? I didn't hear you.
Did you solve any murders as well?
I worked with the police on a case, yes.
Yeah, well, yeah, I didn't think you would investigate. Yeah, investigator. But anyway, you'll have to tell us about some of that. So where would you like to start?
Wherever you want me to start.
At the beginning?
I'm having a little hard time hearing you, so I'm not sure.
Oh, are you?
Oh.
Yes.
Well, I don't know why that would be, but...
It's that mic
Okay.
again.
Well, we shall see. As long as you can hear me,
Is my mic on?
we should be fine.
Can you hear me better, or just...
Yeah, I can hear you a little bit better right now.
Okay. We'll just turn both mics up, and maybe you can hear better now.
So, am I coming in clearer?
Yeah, you are too.
Okay, great.
All right.
Great.
So Jane, when did you first discover that you had these kind of abilities?
Well, I actually never considered it psychic ability, and it wasn't until the very early 80s that I began to even exploring this field and actually attempting to develop it. I started going to psychics and didn't believe them. I just happened to see the popularity of them when I would go to the mall, and I got curious. And the first psychic told me that I would be a famous psychic.
Whoa.
I laughed in her face. And then I there were some other things that she told me, and then I got curious, and I said, And then I went to another one who told me the same thing.
No kidding.
And then after 150 psychic readings.
150.
All telling me the same thing, I decided that the only way to prove or disprove it was to try to develop it.
So that's what
I set out to do.
That's what it took to convince you, was 150 readings.
The what?
I said that's what it took to convince you then, was 150 readings?
Yes.
She's a tough nut to crack.
Yeah, I know it. Then she finally says, well, there must be something to this.
I had been a high school teacher, and it just... And in those days, in the very, very early 80s, really there was nothing that you could compare this to, or no one didn't know. They didn't know much about psychic ability. About the only thing you had was the typical gypsy psychic on the boardwalk in Seaside, in New Jersey. So there wasn't any way you can compare it. So I decided that it was my own personal research, and I set out to see if I could develop the ability. And that's what happened.
And how did you do that?
It was probably a process of about 3 years. I did a lot of meditation, but really I did a lot of, let's say, pop psychology books, reading, about myself, why I am the way I am, delving into my personality, trying to understand why I had certain kind of personality traits.
What direction did you go off in the beginning? Which direction did you go in? Did you start reading for other people, or did you start having visions yourself?
I started to, have visions myself. I started to make predictions for me.
Wow.
Is how I started in having visions. The moment that I knew that I had opened the ability was I was at the Art Center here in New Jersey, and I was watching Wayne Newton.
Wayne
and I
Newton.
knew he was Native American,
Oh.
and he had Native American heritage. And there was a blank white screen on the stage. And I thought he was going to start talking about his heritage because I was watching an Indian woman on that screen. I still can see it today. And after about a half an hour of watching this, he wasn't saying anything. I turned to my husband at that point, and I asked him if he saw that Indian woman on the screen. And he says, "What Indian woman?" He said, the screen is blank. And that's when I knew what had happened, that I had a psychic projection, a vision.
Do you think that was what he might have been in a past life, or do you think it was his guide?
It's possible. It's possible. I know that there's, I've explored past lives at the same time. When I was opening up the ability, of course, I was reading about the field. I was exploring past lives. I was doing everything in trying to open it up and understand it. And going to psychics and trying to prove it's real or not.
But when that happened, Jane, how did you interpret that Native American woman on the screen?
Well, I thought it was just, she's still very, very, if I close my eyes or I go back to that, I could see every line etched on her face. It was that clear and that detailed. I would think that it's possible that I had a Native American past life, and I thought that's what it would be. I thought the other thing is it could have been Wayne Newton's relative that I was actually seeing up there, because I knew that he was part Native American.
Interesting.
And that's how I took it. But the image is still so clear in every. It was more like almost like a half profile. It wasn't a full face.
Mm-hmm.
That she was looking directly at me. It was sort of like a half profile, half face image, and you can just see all the details of her face, which showed me also wisdom.
Wow.
Because of all the details of the lines, this is what it made me think of.
I'd like to just butt in here for just a minute. Unfortunately, we only have one phone line, so we can't take calls, but if you do have a question for Jane, you can email W. Hassell, that's WHASSELL, at WSCAFM.org, and we will pass that question along.
Cool. All right.
Cool.
Sorry for the interruption, Jane. So
okay.
where did you proceed from there?
Well, from there, I had no intention of doing psychic readings or anything like this. My goal was to teach people about the paranormal at that point. So I began to teach in the adult school courses in the paranormal. And then from there, I guess this was really the point that got me into doing ghost investigations, things like this. But I opened up an office, is what I did, for hypnosis, because I was really doing hypnosis at the time. And a person came in, and they wanted me to go into a trance. They were coming to me not for hypnosis, they were coming to me for a psychic reading.
Wow,
And
that's
I
kind of a departure from what you were doing,
and
isn't
I
it?
finally gave in, and I did it. And then that just opened up more doors, and I began to get people who wanted readings. And I would stamp my feet and to my kids and say, why can't it be hypnosis? A client, and they would look at me and say, well, Ma, you are psychic. And I go, yeah, I know, but I don't want to do readings. That to me was an enormous responsibility. So that wasn't the way I thought I was going. I figured I'm just going to teach this. But there were other plans for this, how it happened. And then how I got into ghost investigations is the Home Shopping channel at the time was doing a public service type of TV show, and they had to do so many to be on the air.
Mm-hmm.
And they contacted me to do a piece on the paranormal.
Really?
So I had just been I had just completed a ghost investigation, my very first one. In fact, I took a Ouija board with me. That's how I did that.
Ah.
And because of that experience, I told them, okay, we could do this. We went to that house where I had done the investigation and helped the people. Then from there, they wanted a house that was currently haunted. So I had to search for that. I found one. And I didn't enter that house until they entered it, so that I didn't know anything about the place. So they did a live, ghost investigation with me.
How did that go?
And that was at the Spy House in New Jersey.
You have that on your website, don't you?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And then what happened is after that, I was called back for a newspaper, the Asbury Park Press. And as I was, at that point, I was doing readings in a trance. I can go into a very, very deep trance because of the hypnosis. And it would be, I was like an Edgar Casey type of trance I would go into.
Really?
So I was going into this for the Asbury Park Press to give them some of the information that I had received, and I was going to demonstrate this trance to them. I did not expect to have happen what did.
And what happened?
I mean, imagine in front of the newspaper, I was like mortified. I lapsed right into a full trance, and I began to speak about buried treasure there, all this information. And when I came out of the trance, I just was mortified. Because it was like, oh my God, what came out of me? And then Gertrude, who was the curator, she said, yes, and she pulled out maps. unknown to me, that there was speculation by certain people there that there was treasure buried out in the water.
No kidding.
And buried there. And then I had heard of stories of pieces of silver being found. Silver, like tea sets,
Wow.
like this, that would be from a ship.
Buried or
in
what?
The harbor.
In the house or on the grounds?
Floating in the water.
Oh.
At odd times or on the beach, is what I heard. And then what happened is I went back to do more, and then that was when the very, very first time, my stomach had started to react to spirit, and it will expand anywhere from 3 to 5 inches when spirit is around.
Why do you suppose you react like that?
Yeah, that does sound pretty strange. Yeah.
Yeah.
Why do you think that that happens with the stomach?
Okay, there's a couple of reasons. Over the years, I've learned. One is because as a psychic, I don't read cards, so in order for me to do a reading on somebody, I take their energy field and I bring it to me to the gut area. And I just think that over the years of doing that, this area is so developed that my body reacts that way. Everybody reacts physically to psychic truth, whether you realize it or not. If you were tuning in and you also tuned into your body, you would know you were getting a signal that you were getting correct information. So for me, it just happens to be that my stomach expands. The other reason is I've learned that recently the British have uncovered, or they have a theory, that they now feel that the stomach has a separate brain, which would make sense because I'm reacting. In your ancient days, your third eye was not, in your forehead, between your eyes. Your third eye was your gut. That's where your psychic center was.
Okay.
So all of these things, combined, and then you would have to classify me as a bit of a physical medium. Because as a physical medium, what spirit does is come around you, use your energy field, and in some way change you physically. And that's what they're doing to me.
Yep. Well, you've heard of a gut feeling, so that makes sense. That's probably where that came from.
Yeah. Okay. That makes sense, yeah.
And that became my trademark.
Wow.
And that's how I began to do ghost tours. I started them at the Spy House Museum because I felt, okay, if this was happening to me, I'm a big believer in God, so I felt that this was given to me for a reason. The only reason that I could think that the other side would have me physically react this way was that those tours were my way to show people that spirit existed. So I was trying to change people's fear of spirit and to show them that this did happen.
Wow.
That spirit was, around. And as a result, the stomach has been touched by probably about 10,000 people over the years.
Ooh, you're pretty popular.
Yeah, really.
I've had somebody, joke with me on the tour, and they say, have you contacted Lords of London? And I looked at them and I said, why? And they said, well, you need to get your stomach insured.
Yeah, I think so, yeah.
Darn tootin'. You went to the Lizzie Borden house, didn't you, Jane?
Yes, I did.
I went there once, too, and what really struck me was you did sense something in several different places of the house. But when I went there, I walked through it, and I felt nothing until I put my foot on the first step of the cellar stairs.
Oh, yes.
And then I got this leaden feeling in my legs that lasted until I left the cellar. So what was your reaction when you did that? I know you felt something there.
Oh, yeah, it was. What happened is I was there with the Philadelphia Inquirer. And also a DJ from Rhode Island came to be there with us. And we were locked in for the night. Couldn't get out. That was it. We were there.
Creepy place.
about 4 o'clock in the morning, I had this urge to go down into the cellar.
Not by yourself.
Well, I was heading down there, and whether anybody came with me or not. I just had this urge.
Oh, my
Well, I always think that's the best way to do it, is by yourself.
Willie investigates by himself. But please, continue, Jane.
True. I agree. Well, what happened is the DJ follows me, and one of the reporters. And what happened is, and I felt a lot. There was a lot there. I felt when I had originally done the investigation earlier in the day down there, I had felt in the back, in the basement, if you've been down there, if you remember,
yes.
if you go down the steps and you just
take a left
get
and
to
it's
the end face.
Very dark energy.
Yes. And if you go to the left-hand corner of the building, in the basement, where he had his, like funeral part, but the other part, that area there is where there was incest. There was rape. There was a lot of dark energy down there.
Wow.
And then, so what happened is that's when I also learned about that he had the embalming used to go on right near the door where supposedly whoever killed him came in.
Now, you say embalming. Who was doing the embalming?
Who was what?
Who was doing the embalming?
He was.
Andrew Borden?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Was that his profession?
Yes.
Oh, I didn't realize that.
So the house was a funeral home at one time?
Yes.
Then?
Yes.
Oh.
Downstairs there.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Okay. All right.
I guess when I was there, fortunately, there were historians that followed me in the investigation.
Oh.
So that as I, whatever I said, then they were able to confirm what they knew, if it coincided what they knew or not.
Okay.
And that's how I learned. And I also learned, which a lot of people don't realize, is that Lizzie Borden was partly retarded.
Oh, wow.
Very slow. So they classified her like, people would think of her as retarded.
Huh.
And that's probably why the murder was pinned on her. Because of that. And that may be something a lot of people do not know.
That's interesting.
And so when I was down there, my stomach expanded. The DJ went to take a picture of me. His camera jammed, which usually happens when spirit is around.
Mm-hmm.
And he just burst into tears.
He burst into tears?
Hmm?
The DJ burst into tears?
Yep.
Oh, my gosh.
And he had been teasing me a lot, and he just was so consumed with fear because he knew about my stomach, but he also knew that if cameras jammed, things like this.
Mm-hmm.
So he realized that spirit was right there with him. Oh, it was a fun night because nobody wanted to sleep at any place but with me.
A fun night indeed, huh?
That night, the reporters. I mean, nobody got much. We didn't get much sleep. I slept in Andrew's bed.
Well, you're not supposed to get much sleep on an
haunted house.
investigation.
And they all piled in the other room, and they slept on the floor because nobody wanted to be in a separate room.
Oh, man. Well, Jane, we are down at the bottom of the hour. We'd like to continue the Lizzie Borden episode in just a moment. We're going to have to take a quick break.
And we will be back in just a couple minutes. Okay, we're back to Spirit Radio, and we'd like to do a little segment now that we call News and Views, Paranormal News and Views, that is. And a little thing that I have here. Several astronauts have come forward over the years to talk about their experiences with UFOs. Astronaut Gordon Cooper, who flew into space as part of NASA's Project Mercury in 1963, is well known for his experiences with UFOs. In 1951, he reported witnessing a number of strange objects flying in formation over Germany. When asked about the sightings, he later admitted that the objects seemed to be flying at a higher altitude and a greater speed than any known human-built aircraft of the time. In 1957, Cooper witnessed another UFO actually coming into land on a dry lake bed at Edwards Air Force Base in California. Despite the incident being recorded on film, Cooper never saw nor heard anything about the strange object again. Neil Armstrong, Buzz Aldrin, and Michael Collins were also said to have observed something unusual during their trip to the moon. The claim, albeit a controversial one, is based on the transcript of the three men talking about a strange object they witnessed outside the spacecraft. While some see the incident as evidence that the Apollo crew had seen a UFO, in a 2007 interview, Aldrin played down the claims by insisting that the transcript had been misrepresented and that the object they'd seen had been nothing more than a panel that had separated from the spacecraft. Now, I don't really believe that. Do you believe that?
I don't know. Does a panel look like a little circular disc? I don't think so.
I don't really think so either. And, this goes right along with something that Jane has on her website, which we're going to have to ask her about when we come back.
Okay.
And I believe you have a story for us?
Well, as a matter of fact here, this is taken from Fate magazine from the May-June 2013 issue. It's called Here Be Dragons. And there are still people seeing odd cryptozoological type creatures, not only the Mothman or the Jersey Devil. This is a dragon that people have seen in Burlington, Iowa recently in the last few years, and they've reported seeing a large serpentine flying creature that is described as a Chinese dragon. A few others have reported the mysterious creature as being around 15 to 20 feet long with a serpentine body and the head resembling a seahorse with bat-like wings. Very peculiar.
Very peculiar indeed.
Yeah. According to one witness, the creature landed in the streets of Burlington in the middle of the night. It was described as brown, serpentine with large bat-like wings. While no sightings have currently been reported openly, some still post online information that these mysterious dragons are seen more during the harvest season between dusk and dawn. They really sound like the dragons that you see in Chinese parades.
Yeah, okay.
The twirly, swirly things, and they have the wings on them.
Right.
Very peculiar.
Very strange.
So, another oddity from Fate magazine.
Another oddity from Fate magazine. and that's this week's version of Paranormal News and Views. We have a couple of upcoming guests that we would like to announce.
We sure do. Let me see. On January 18th, we welcome all the way from the UK one of Britain's most highly respected paranormal investigators, who is also the co-founder of Parascience, and he's a member of the Society for Psychical Research, and that is Steve Parsons, and he'll be joining us here from somewhere on the coast of Wales. And then on January 25th, we're going to have Jesse, actually the grandson of Major Jesse Marcel. In 1947, something crashed on a farm in Roswell, New Mexico, something that started the biggest government cover-up in history. Jesse Marcel III, grandson to the Major Jesse Marcel, will be joining us to talk about his new book, Alien Crash at Roswell. That's going to be another interesting one as well.
It certainly is, and now I believe we've been keeping her on hold long enough.
Yes, Jane is on hold long enough.
Jane, are you there?
I'm here.
All right.
Yes, please
welcome
continue. It's a welcome back with Lizzie Borden and In the Cellar. Tell me, you say that you felt that sexual abuse went on. Do you feel that Lizzie was part of that?
Yes. I'll tell you what I uncovered in the seance and in the investigation.
Okay.
Now, also, a lot of people don't know that the paint in that cellar now it could have been changed. I was there in 98 or 99. There's arsenic in the paint.
Yes.
So that just a little chip of something like that in coffee could certainly
affect somebody.
Harmed Andrew. That's a possibility. But the incest was with the older sister.
With Emma.
Yeah.
Oh.
Is with Emma. Now, what happened is, this all came through in the seance.
Mm-hmm.
But I wanted to tell you there's one part in the investigation when we were sleeping. My stomach expanded in the doorway between Andrew's room and the other room behind, which was Emma's, I believe. And what we smelled was chewing tobacco.
Oh, dear.
What we learned, and I felt it was Andrew, what we learned is that when Andrew was found, he in the pocket of his coat was chewing tobacco.
Oh, my gosh.
So I thought that was extremely interesting. Now, it was not Lizzie who committed the murders.
Yeah, you said that.
And it was the hired hand of the uncle. And the motive was revenge and money.
Okay. Well, how do you figure that? How do you figure revenge? He being the uncle of the original wife, the first wife.
Well, the revenge was this. The original wife, mother, had died,
mm-hmm.
and she had inherited money. And because she died, Andrew got the money.
Oh, dear.
Emma and Lizzie never got the benefit of that money. Now, the uncle also was cut out of some of that money, but he had money, so it didn't really matter. So that was the part of the revenge. And the other thing had to do with the incest.
Oh, he was aware of that.
Emma was trying to protect Lizzie, but at the same time, it was easy to pin the murder on Lizzie because of her being partly retarded.
She appeared to me to be a bit of a spoiled brat. I know that she stole, like from the hardware store. She was just impertinent. She has this smirk on her face in the pictures that I've seen of her. She just, she looks like a brat.
Well, it also could be, you're talking about Lizzie.
Mm-hmm, Lizzie.
What it also could be, if she's slow and retarded,
yep.
She's carrying out, she could be that way.
Mm-hmm. That was something I didn't know about her.
She's not going to have that ability to discern what's right and wrong.
Mm-hmm.
So she could become a tempestuous, child
mm-hmm.
without discipline. But the way the investigation folded in the seance is that it was easy to make her the target because of her being that way, and it
mm-hmm.
wasn't done maliciously. It's just because
naturally fell on her,
trying to protect her from this same fate that she had. Now, years later, when they were living in that second home, one night Lizzie threw Emma out, and they never spoke again.
Oh.
What I felt is that Lizzie finally found out that Emma and the uncle pinned it on her, and then that was like the last straw, and she threw them out.
Oh, and that was John Morse, right? Was that his last name, Morse?
I believe so.
The uncle. That's an interesting, different side that I've never heard.
Yeah, a little bit different twist on the story there.
So John Morse masterminded the murder, and then he had his hired hand do it. And were there two of them that were involved?
The door was left open because Emma, and there was no forced entry to that
right,
door.
The door was left unlocked.
Basement. That's how they got in. It was left open.
Wow, that definitely does start to a different picture, and it's a very plausible one.
Mm-hmm. Well, I did this it was either 98 or 99, and a lot of it came out in the seance and the investigation.
Yeah.
And then things were being confirmed with the historian being there.
Oh.
And think of it, how easy it would be to pick a piece of paint off of the wall and make them, even if it wasn't enough to kill them at that point, put him in a stupor.
Do you think they were maliciously fed? Do you think Andrew did that?
What was that? I can't hear.
Do you think that Andrew maliciously fed them arsenic? Or was aware that...
Not Andrew. Emma.
Emma fed Lizzie?
No, Andrew and the stepmother.
Oh, boy.
Okay.
That's morbid.
Really?
Yeah, it was well, plotted out. Now, when I did the seance, interesting is this was not long after the O.J. Simpson murder.
Uh-huh.
And so the Philadelphia Inquirer was asking me, going to the Massachusetts, if they could get me in the O.J. house where the murders were, would I do a seance there? And so I said, sure. Leaving this investigation, I said, no way.
Really?
Do a seance. This was the first time I had ever done a seance in a house what you would consider to be the murder scene. And what happened, what was so different, is that I was actually pulled off of my chair, wrenching in pain and twisting, because Emma was using my body to be freed from that, confusion. And she's the one that revealed it wasn't Lizzie who killed her. It was quite an emotional
I bet.
experience.
And physically stressful.
Yes, and then we went to the graveyard. I do have a video of it all because it was videotaped.
Mm-hmm.
I just don't have it, on my website anymore. I used to put it for sale, but haven't done that.
So I can see why you wouldn't want to go to O.J.'s house. That would just be such a strain.
Yeah, I can understand that.
It would be. I realize that when you're right there at a murder scene,
the energy.
When you open yourself up that way, if the spirit is confused, they could be reliving the last moment before they died. So I was reliving the struggle
that Emma had.
Yes.
Wow.
It was violent. It was not. It was a shock to me. So you can imagine what I could possibly experience.
Your accuracy is amazing.
The O.J. murder was committed.
Well, I'd like to change subjects a little bit here, Jane.
Okay.
But first, I would like to ask you a question about something that is on your website. It says there is a new TV series on a major network.
I did? Yes. It's not new.
Okay.
Is that Dead Tenants?
Dead Tenants.
Oh, okay. All right. It's on the
congratulations.
website.
That's
on
great.
the website, it says new, so I thought it was something that was going to be coming
probably. I think you're seeing the new website. It's with the cartoon character in it.
Right.
Yes, it is.
Okay. Then probably what happened is when my son transferred the old bio, he didn't upgrade it to what I wanted.
Okay.
I can write it in a different way.
Okay.
I'm going to have to go back and do that. It's still playing in Europe. In fact, right now it's playing in Egypt.
Oh my gosh!
Wow.
And what was your part in that? Where you was
on Facebook, because they found me as a result of the TV show, which is internationally, like Romania, the Netherlands, Turkey, Dubai, and Egypt, a lot in India. It's played all over.
So what part do you play in it, Jane? As a consultant?
No. It was a TV show that was called Dead Tenants, so I was the psychic. I was like the co-star of it.
Wow.
And we would go into a house that was haunted, not like a building. It was like a family who had a problem. And we would go in to investigate, and I would do a seance at the end.
Private residences, then.
Mm-hmm.
Was that a whole series, like 13 episodes?
It was 10 episodes.
10 episodes. Ooh, congratulations. That must have been really interesting. I didn't get to see any of those. I had heard of it at one point.
Yeah, it was in 2005. Unfortunately, not all the episodes played in the U.S.
Oh.
There seems to have been a major argument with the executive producer of TLC and our executive producer. And unfortunately, it was like spite work. And you know how TLC always repeats shows
Yeah.
when it's aired? They never repeated ours once.
That's a shame.
Oh,
It was
yeah,
very
really.
interesting.
Really?
You know, I think I know the reason, and then it was sold to Discovery International.
Okay.
So some of the best episodes, the only first 5 aired, and the second 5, I feel, were, much better than the first 5.
Okay, we do, I believe, have an email question. Do you have that one?
Yes. Yes. Writer, a writer wrote in.
An emailer.
And wants to know, did you ever locate a body for the police in your investigations?
Bodies for the police. No, I haven't done that. I haven't done that kind of a murder investigation. Although I was asked to and never got that opportunity to go on a really, really cold case. I did go on an investigation and was able to pinpoint the murder. They didn't tell me who they suspected, and I went through it, and actually the woman that was murdered actually, was starting to come through me, and I was able to determine, the getaway car and where they put the gun. And it went to trial, and it was who they thought it was, and I confirmed everything by all my descriptions, and it was the actual son. He killed his mother.
Oh.
But you have assisted in some missing persons cases, though, correct?
I couldn't hear you.
I said you have assisted police in some missing persons cases, correct?
Yes, I've done that, and I've done it also on individual people who will call me.
Oh, that's
Oh, yeah,
great.
yeah,
Yeah.
okay.
That's such a wonderful service to provide.
I've even done it, believe it or not, through email. A case in India of a missing boy.
Oh, that's just
Okay,
amazing.
that sounds a little
So
tough
that
to do.
was, kind of interesting that you're getting this plea from. It was like a school in India. So I tried to handle that for him, but the language is difficult. But I gave them what I saw and where I saw it.
I have one other really burning question I wanted to ask you. There was something that you had written on your website about the moon landing and about a broadcast in Ireland, and that they were talking about UFOs surrounding them before they landed on the moon. Could you tell us about that?
Yeah, absolutely. I was in Ireland when the men, was it Buzz Aldrin? Is that who it was? I forget now.
It was. He was one of them.
Yeah, he was one of them. And we were in a hotel in Ireland watching the men land on the moon. And what happened is as they were approaching and landing, they couldn't get out right away, and it came right on the broadcast, and you heard his voice say that there were UFOs surrounding them. And then the broadcast cut out for a few minutes. Then it went back on. Now, what is interesting is years later, I went to a MUFON meeting, and I had the courage to tell them that story. And there was a woman there who was from Germany, and she confirmed while she was in Germany the same thing happened.
Yeah, because
They broadcast.
that didn't actually...
It's different what happened here in the United States.
Yeah, that
Nobody
didn't come over the air
do that.
in the United States, did it?
No. So, but there, the broadcast,
Yeah.
they allow that to come out.
Wow.
Very interesting.
Talk about being censored.
Yeah, I know it. Oh.
Whoa, fascinating. And also, too, Jane, weren't you in a movie?
Yes, that movie just came out. It went straight to DVD because it's an independent movie. It's called Amy, She Can See the Possessed. And we're set in Amish country, so I am playing an Amish grandmother.
So how did that come about? How were you asked to be in that?
There's a lot of interesting things, and I should say this, is you have to be careful of what you wish for. Because this came about, I was teaching at the college, a course in the paranormal. There was an Indian family that was taking the course, And I guess his friend had a production studio, unknown to me. So the production studio's college roommate from India came out. He's a famous music composer in India, here to do a movie. And the production person called my student, wanted him to meet him for dinner, and my student couldn't. And then my student asked, well, what kind of a movie is it? So when they told him what the movie was, my student told him about me. Now, I had no idea that they were going to cast me in the movie. They arranged to meet me for dinner. I assumed they wanted to have me consult on...
Right, a consultation, yeah.
And because it was a very funny moment, because you walk into a restaurant, I've never been to an Indian restaurant at all, and you've got 5 Indian men looking at you.
With the red hair, yeah.
And it was like, they're because they're trying to cast you as his character, unknown to me. So when the evening was over, the producer said to me, I want to cast you in the movie. And he sent me over the script that night, and I said, okay. I read it. I was fine with it. And he came the next night here. And then we started production, a couple of weeks later. I was doing 18 ghost tours that weekend. I would drive to Lancaster, Pennsylvania, trying to learn my lines to do this. I mean, it was not easy, because there was no real preparation for it at all. And I'm there saying to myself, how in the world did this happen? Because it was stressful.
How did I get myself into this?
And I remembered a wish I made in college. I went, oh, my God. In college, I was a speech and theater arts major. That was all public speaking and debating, and I did a lot of the stage makeup for the college plays. And I was fascinated with doing character makeup. And I made a wish. I said, I wish and hope that I play an old character in a movie.
What did you wish for?
So you got your wish.
You really need to be careful what you wish.
That's right. Jane, unfortunately...
we just run out of time.
Yeah, we are completely out of time here. That hour went by fast, and it was a pleasure to have you. Would you like to give out your website or anything like that?
Sure. It's under my name, which is Jane Doherty.